Hey everybody, Zongus 134 here.
Average Joe Squad here.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen, the show where we look at comic books, movies, and everything in between.
And yet another episode where we are not in the car.
Yeah, no. It's kind of risky to be in the car right now. Because I'm always afraid we're going to be pulled over by a cop or something and be like, hey, what are you all doing?
I'm at my second job. Leave me alone. I'm essential. I'm an entertainer.
we're essential. We're essential to all 20 of you. So, this is an episode I've been wanting to do for a long time. We're going to be doing a review of one of my favorite books. I actually argue it's probably my favorite comic of all time. Which is odd, because it's an Elseworld story, but we're looking at Kingdom Come. So, a little backstory on this. I actually got this when him and I were out at a toy store one day. They had a comic book section, and we were looking through stuff, because they've got some really neat stuff that it's like out
they have a
little
bit of everything. I want to say they have like some common stuff. Then they got some off the wall kind of stuff.
Yeah, like they actually had a few things in coffins, which was pretty rare because I usually don't see a lot of coffin stuff in Erie. But and so we were looking through the comics, and this bad boy is on the wall. This is actually the golden edition of this book. I think it was. It actually is missing the cover. It was only $20, but I think if you get this in perfect condition, this is like $100. It's pretty old because you can see it's got the old 90s DC logo and the Elseworlds Exchange logo, or the Elseworlds Exchange, the Elseworlds logo. Now for those of you,
now Sal's gonna flag us for copyright infringement.
Oh, he won't copyright us. I mean, granted, he's actually done this book, so if you want to watch his review too, this book is great. So because have we talked about anything Elseworlds on this show?
Not like a review, but we've mentioned like Red Rain.
Okay. Well, just
Red Sun technically
yeah.
counts, but I think that's really the only Elseworlds we've done.
Well, just to give a quick summation of what Elseworlds is. The Elseworlds was an imprint that DC did basically so they could like tell stories that you normally couldn't tell in canon, such as what if Batman became a vampire, or what if Superman, grew up in the USSR. Basically stories that you that you could do that were just one and dones and could maybe even be their own thing. Like the first being, of course, Gotham by Gaslight,
which is fantastic.
So, this story is actually kind of an interesting product, and one I think we kind of need now more than ever with the way things are. So this story was created, I think, just after the events of basically when the Dark Age was kind of at its peak / kind of going on the down. Written by Mark Waid with art by, of course, the legendary Alex Ross.
Which, if he makes these posts pretty frequently. This is a little off topic with Twitter. Where he compares his art now to art he was doing when he was 10. Yeah. I'm sorry, the dude at 10 years old was drawn better than I can.
Yeah, no,
which is ridiculous.
Like I know a lot of artists will tell you you're not just gifted, you have to practice. I'm like, dude still had a lot of talent for 10 years old.
Yeah, like he's posted drawings that he's done of like Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman when he was like 10, and I'm like, how are you this gifted? I don't understand.
To be fair, I've always kind of had an appreciate, and I know it's not that uncommon to be like, oh, you love Alex Ross's art, but I'm like, I mean, look at it. Like, this is actually my original copy I've had since like high school. I gave it to him because I didn't need 2 copies of this.
Which I was like, this had been on my buy list for a while, and I just hadn't popped on it yet.
Basically, every time I would see it, I was like, what is with this Superman with the sideburns and the black S and like these weird alternate versions of the heroes? And so I picked it up, and I've basically been in love with it ever since. Granted, I'll buy just about anything that Alex Ross draws. Like, I have this, I have Justice, Marvels. One of these days, I need to find my copy of Marvels, and we should review that, because Marvels...
Yeah, the dude is just a tremendous artist.
That and Marvels is probably one of the best history books of the Marvel Universe, because it basically touches on, like, all the major events in the Marvel Universe up until the death of Gwen Stacy. But getting into this book, so, like, when I picked this book up, I didn't know what it was until I picked it up, and I did research, and basically... This book is basically a story of the Silver Age versus the Dark Age. And whether or not the Silver Age of heroes still matters, in my opinion. So, before we really get into it, I was wondering what your thoughts were. I mean, not like fully talking about the story, but
Yeah. So this is one of those stories that ever since I got back into comics, this has been one that I've seen talked about a lot. I've seen a lot of the art pop up. Like the cover is a pretty famous piece.
Yeah.
And they just recently did Kingdom Come Superman for the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths event.
I'm still waiting for it to get an animated movie because
one of these days we need to review Crisis too.
Yeah, one of these days we need to review Crisis because this in a lot of ways shares a lot of stuff with Crisis.
Yeah.
But
so I'd always heard a lot about it. It's pretty much considered legendary in a lot of the circles I kind of function within. But I never really read it. Again, I had it on my Amazon list of things to buy, the infinite list, as I call it.
Which now no longer has to buy.
Yeah, it had been on there for a while, and I just had never really gotten around to it. It was one of those things that I thought about buying a couple times, and I never went ahead and took the dive on it. But then when he found that copy, he talked about because I think you mentioned it to me first. You were like, "No, I'm giving you my old copy, and we're gonna review this."
No, because like I said, it's arguably probably my favorite story of all time, just because it's so interesting, and it takes from everything, because they have Under the Hood, the biography that's in Watchmen in one scene. It mentions all these stories. It brings characters you've probably never seen before in it, like Dollman and Dollgirl are in this story. And honestly, it's just so fun to look at. In fact, this is actually where Tim Drake got his Red Robin costume from. Because that costume is actually worn by Dick Grayson. He's actually the first person to wear the Red Robin costume. Although here I think it's just called Robin.
Yeah.
But yeah, and because I always think if you're gonna read any Elseworld story other than I actually always say you should try to read this first, because granted it probably will spoil you for some of the other ones, because not all of them have really great art. Some of them do. Some of them are really either weirdly experimental or kind of given to talent they're not sure of. But Alex Ross just always nails it out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my thing, was once you found that and mentioned giving me a copy, I was like, okay, as soon as I get it, I'll sit down and read it. And I think 2 days after you gave this to me,
yeah,
I was bored, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to sit down and read this. And I think I texted you later that day. I was like, I read it in one sitting.
Yeah,
I couldn't put it down.
Now, to be fair, it's not super long. It's only 4 issues and an epilogue. But although both versions of my copy are missing the very, very end, because there's a slight extended ending, basically showing the Legion of Superheroes watching the events of this unfold.
Yeah, honestly, because this one doesn't have that.
Yeah, this one doesn't have. But
Which
to be fair,
is strange, because I know if you go to buy this on Amazon, there's a new printing of it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if the new printing adds that.
Then, to be fair, I kind of get why it's left out a lot of the times, because it kind of adds nothing really to the story.
But it's nice to have it, for if not just for completion's sake.
There's also a novelization of this that doesn't really alter a lot, but it adds a couple scenes. Kind of extends some of the character interactions, but we'll get to that. So I guess we should probably just start talking about the story. So the book opens and it takes place, even because you don't know about this until you get a little bit in, but just for explaining the narrative in a way that's fluid. Basically, it's been 10 years since Superman last showed up. Basically, Superman retired, and with him, most of the Justice League and the traditional DC characters that have either retired or kind of taken to doing things differently, basically. So, the book actually kind of opens on basically this person talking about the Book of Revelation. And as I like to tell a lot of people, this is basically the DC Universe's version of the Book of Revelations. He basically starts with talking, I gotta get...
While you're doing that, I would also like to point out one of my favorite things upon reading this was the version I have. I don't know if it's in there or not. Probably not. It has a dedication to Christopher Reeve.
Oh no, it has a dedication to Christopher Reeve. Because I want to say I think this book came out around the same time he passed away.
Yeah.
But basically, it starts off with this amazing image of a bat fighting an eagle with American flag wings and a spear. Gee, I wonder what that's a reference to. And basically, this person like quoting the Book of Revelations. We later find out that this is an old man talking to a pastor named Norman McKay, who we find out is actually the Golden Age character, the Sandman. For those of you who are big fans of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, this is not the same Sandman. He bases his look and stuff on Morpheus, but this Sandman was a Golden Age pulp hero that worked with the JSA. His whole thing being he wore a gas mask and had like knockout gas, basically. Basically, he's been seeing these images that kind of make him think that it's the end of days, and he tries to leave his. I guess he's in like the hospice unit because he's dying. And he's basically like, I've got to get out there. I've got to try and warn someone. And Norman, Norman being the good pastor, because I actually think Norman's a very good pastor. He's like, no, you just need to relax. I know it's towards the end, but I can comfort you. You'll be. And basically, he's like, no, I will be fine. But what about you and the rest of the world? You need to read the book, read. And I think it kind of implies he dies here because he gets put in by some orderlies. You actually see from his eyes, and you actually see the orderlies look like the Sandman, like they got the gas mask and stuff. And basically, he starts reading the book. I think he starts reading the Corinthians, but basically
you would know better than I am.
Yeah, basically he reads the book until basically he passes on. And as he's talking about this, Norman is basically narrating most of this story. And he's like, basically he says, there was a small funeral, and he talks about how I think he's kind of having a question of faith for most of this book, because, how do you talk about God and, a higher power when that higher power is here? Because basically after Superman has left, the grandchildren and children of these heroes are now the new superheroes and villains. And basically, they just fight because they feel like it. It's kind of implied that the heroes and villains will just crash into town, and they'll start using their powers or firing guns because they're the '90s Dark Age heroes. Although I've never seen a '90s Dark Age hero drawn as well as they are in this book. There's
who's the dude we always make fun of with the pouches and the pointy legs?
Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, Rob Liefeld.
There's sorry.
No Rob Liefeld art in here.
Yeah, no, sorry. I get that people love a lot of that art in the '90s, but I'm sorry.
It looks like ass compared to this.
You can't top this. You can't top Alex Ross.
Yeah, this is all just legitimate art right here.
But basically, Norman after basically starts ranting and raving about the end of days while reading the Book of Revelations to his flock. Basically, well, actually no, that comes later. But basically, he's walking around after the death of his good friend, and after stopping at a Planet Hollywood themed restaurant called what's it called? Oh, Planet Krypton.
I also noticed this. I wanted to bring this up just now. So this was something I noticed the first time I read through this and just looked at all the stuff that's in Planet Krypton. There's a lot of art in here that is
there's also you can all see the actual original Fire in here from Fire and Ice because they don't tell you, but basically they imply that Booster Gold runs Planet Krypton, which not really surprising. Booster Gold running.
Yeah, but looking through here, I noticed a couple things that were obviously put in there on purpose that I really enjoyed as references. That you have
the old school bat plane.
Yeah, well, that's actually the Bat Gyro.
Or the Bat Gyro.
Yeah, that's the Bat Gyro. But this is the thing I noticed that I wanted to point out to you that I forgot to. The artwork right here on the side of the building, that's the Super Friends artwork.
Oh yeah, that is the Super Friends artwork, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, you can see a lot of things. They have the Golden Age version of Superman's rocket. Actually, I want to say that rocket's the same rocket that they used for the Fleischer Superman cartoon.
I think it is.
It's actually really funny because and this is something I've always noticed with.
You basically have the '60s Batman costume in the case,
which is kind of interesting because it's funny how because there's a waitress dressed like Wonder Woman, but and he tries to make it look like her costume's like a cheap Halloween thing.
That looks like the Linda Carter one.
It does look like I wouldn't be surprised if that was the thing, but basically, like, well, not only that, she actually kind of has, like, the poofy 80s hair that Wonder Woman had.
Yeah.
But, like, basically, you know, Norman, after having his lunch at the Planet Hollywood, which I don't know what I would want to get there, because it's probably all tacky and gross. Basically, he runs into a fight. And actually, this fight here, you actually get to meet Starfire and Nightwing's daughter, Nightfire. They don't give her name here, but I know her name. Basically, she took... she's
It's an amalgamation
of her parents' names. Basically, she's running with, like, I guess, like, a crew of Teen Titans. I mean, they aren't called the Teen Titans in story, but basically they're fighting a bunch of bad guys, one of which is a giant Minotaur. Like, this Minotaur, like, shows up in so many shots. I'm like, why is there just a Minotaur?
Why not?
I mean, why not? And basically they're fighting, and all of a sudden, because I think the idea is that they're in Metropolis. They don't really explain what city they're in, but I argue in Metropolis. But basically, a big news thing comes on screen, and they don't show until a little bit later in the book, but basically, the current new Superman, Magog, who is based, I think, on a character from the New Gods, this 90s Cable-looking dude who wears, like, golden armor that makes him look like Loki if he didn't skip leg day.
Yeah, Moloch's never skipped leg day a fucking day in his life.
Yeah. Basically, he leads a new version of the Justice League, which I forget what they call it. I think it's, like, Justice, like, Commandos or something like that. Basically, a reference to Justice League Max or whatever it was called back in the 90s, where Booster Gold...
I'm looking for it, so...
Where Booster Gold led them, and it was, like, all 90s, and they all wore these stupid armor things and had crappy-looking jackets. Oh, here it is. The Justice Battalion. That was what it was called. Basically, him and a group of former Justice League members, one of which is Captain Atom, are chasing the Parasite, who at this point is kind of old and kind of falling apart. Basically, Parasite begged them to stop because they were beating the shit out of him, and basically they were gonna kill him, more or less. Because basically Magog's team is, you know, shoot first, ask questions later. You know, kind of like groups like the Authority or Stormwatch. And basically Parasite in a desperate gambit ripped Captain Atom in half. For those of you who don't know about Captain Atom, that color he has isn't his skin. It's actually a containment suit he has to wear. And if it breaks, well, he'll blow up, and it'll be like Hiroshima times 10, basically. You know, and basically he blows up, and everyone but Magog and one of the Metal Men survive. And basically all of Kansas is irradiated. Which causes, you know, a collapse of the global economy. Millions of people are now dead. Superman's hometown of Smallville is now no more. Kansas is a wasteland. And basically...
Chernobyl / Ground Zero.
Yeah, like I said it was basically like Hiroshima, except like 10 times worse. So, basically after this happens, metahuman violence ratchets up. Because before it was just, you know, them fighting to try and prove who's better and, you know, getting their kicks. Now it's, well, if everything's going to hell anyways, we might as well just start killing each other. And at this point, Norman, you know, starts preaching that it's the end of days to his flock. And his flock, you know, this is not what they wanted to come. They wanted to, like...
Come here and be reassured.
Be reassured
that they'll be
all right. And to be fair to Norman, I think even he was like, I'm sorry, this isn't what I meant to do. Because not only is this happening, now Norman seems to have the Sandman's visions. Now he's the new, basically John the Prophet. And so he's sitting in a pew in his church, ripping pages of the Bible out because he's like, I don't know what to do. When he's visited by the angel of vengeance himself, the Spectre. And so the Spectre's like, Norman McKay, you have been given the Sandman's gift. I need you to help me find who is going to cause the end of the world, because I need to punish them. And Norman's like, couldn't you just figure that out? It's like, basically, I no longer have control over my faculties like I once did, so I need a human to be my avatar. And so what follows is, for the most part, is basically Norman and the Spectre watch as basically the heroes of the Silver Age return. The first thing we go to is Wonder Woman going to the Fortress of Solitude, although we don't know it's the fortress just yet. But I'm kind of telling you guys stuff because, like, the book likes to like not tell you things and then tell you later, which isn't a bad thing. It's kind of one of those where, like, it wants to tell you certain things first. So basically, Wonder Woman comes to this farm and we meet Superman, who's wearing bib overalls and more or less farming. This actually is important because they bring this up a couple times. When Superman goes to Apocalypse and talks to Orion, who now runs Apocalypse after killing Darkseid, Darkseid basically says, a lot of us don't realize, but basically we try so hard to not be our parents, we end up usually growing up to be them, which is, of course, a reference to the fact that Superman, while he is the son of Jor-El and, a Kryptonian, his father was Jonathan Kent. And so basically, Superman, after basically his retirement, he went to the Fortress of Solitude, and using like a holodeck, basically, he starts a farm with a bunch of animals. One of which is a dog with like a checker mark look, and I'm like, why is Crypto got like checker mark look on him? But I don't think it's supposed to be Crypto, but
yeah,
it kind of looks like Crypto. And so basically, Diana comes to Clark and is like, and she also note she calls him Clark, and he gives her this look and she's like, sorry, Kal-El. Basically, Superman has also cast off his role as being Clark Kent. He basically has rejected his humanity and is now fully Superman. Basically, Diana's like, it's bad. She brings up the fact that Magog, caused Kansas to be nuked. And basically she's like, you need to come back and you need to lead us, Kal-El, because like we need to stop Armageddon. And basically Superman's like, no, I don't do that anymore, Diana. I'm sorry. And Diana basically leaves the Fortress of Solitude. And so Norman's like, well, if Superman won't do anything, like, isn't there other heroes that can help? And basically we get into, like, seeing what happened to all these other heroes. A lot of them are retired and we don't see them. But we do see a couple notable ones.
The Flash, who doesn't stop running.
Yeah,
now.
Basically the Flash has become one with the Speed Force, and now runs all over Keystone City, like preventing even like the smallest of wrongs. Like, oh no, a kid's gonna lose his ice cream. Nope, got it. But basically, he just doesn't stop running, and he's kind of created a utopia. We see that Aquaman is now no longer one with man's world. He's living in Atlantis, ruling it.
I'm assuming that's Mara.
Yeah, that's Mara. With him. That's Mara. Although I think he does state, I think that Aqualad is now Aquaman, which, fair. I think it's supposed to be Hal Jordan, but given the color of his hair, I think it's supposed to actually be Alan Scott. It's really weird, but basically Hal as Green Lantern has not stepped on Earth's soil in 10 years and is now living in basically a green castle floating in Earth's atmosphere, waiting for alien invasion that has not come in many a year. Basically, he's just sitting up there like a knight waiting for like whatever disaster may befall the Earth. Which also is kind of shabby because, Hal's not just in charge of Earth. Like, he's in charge of like an entire section of the universe.
Yeah.
But, and of course we see Batman because basically Norman's like, all these characters with powers. I remember one who didn't have powers. What became of Batman? And I love it because Spectre basically is like, Batman has his city handled. Which we cut to see Gotham City, and these kids like mugged some dude and are running with guns, and all of a sudden these giant bat robots come down and basically surround them. Basically implying that Batman has turned Gotham into a police state in a sense. While this is going on, there's, I think it's supposed to be San Francisco because I think it's the Golden Gate Bridge they're on. Once again, the heroes and villains have started fighting again. In fact, some of them are fighting on top of a cable car full of people. and the cable car gets snapped, and Norman and the Spectre watch this, and Norman's like, what can we do? Like, they're worse than before. Armageddon is here. And then a great wind blows through and knocks all the villains and heroes back, and their guns are destroyed. And all of a sudden, a tornado of water spins up in the air and catches the cable car and puts it back on. Basically, a mighty force, and it even says in the book, with the force to change the current of a mighty river. And then Superman has returned. And basically, it's the second coming of Superman,
and it's better than the movie,
or the second
Superman
coming.
Returns.
Yeah, or the second coming of, because like they even say the second coming of Superman, like, you know, this is the second coming of Christ, basically. And like it's probably one of my favorite parts of the book, because I'm like this everything's going to hell. Like, what can we do? And then all of a sudden, Superman shows up, and it's and I always say, like, the best Superman stories make you feel like everyone else in the DC universe would be when Superman would show up. Like, you'd be like, oh, thank God Superman's here. We're good now. And
we're in good hands.
Yeah, and even Norman himself is like, okay, we're on the good path. And then he gets another vision, basically showing Superman like screaming in agony, and he's like, oh, this is just the start of it, isn't it? So basically, Superman comes back. He goes to the UN and tells them, I'm forming the Justice League, and we're going to start trying to quell these superhumans and trying to get them to work our way. And of course the UN was like, did Superman just declare himself dictator of the Earth?
One of my favorite things, not to interrupt.
Oh no, that's fine.
Is that we got Power Girl.
Oh yeah. Which is weird, because I think it's supposed to be that's actually Supergirl grown up.
It is, because I looked it up in the Apocrypha at the end of the book. It says formerly Power Girl, so that obviously means it's Kara Zor-El.
Yeah.
Just with an L on the end, which is the original.
I only say that because they do show like the Legion of Superheroes, and they have like a Superboy and a Supergirl there. So, and that always confused me, because I'm like, is that supposed to mean that like Supergirl was so disillusioned by Superman, she went to the 31st century and is now just living with the Legion?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that is supposed to be.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's still the same Supergirl, but then like Clark obviously goes to get her.
Yeah.
And she comes back and she
she grows up, basically.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to say, I actually forgot that they actually show Hawkman. Show him on the back. Hawkman is insane in this book. He's now more hawk than man.
Oh, he's stalking the Pacific
Northwest.
Northwest.
Yeah, because he's like, anyone that tries to harm my bird brothers' homes just gets shit lit on fire, and I wreck shit. I'm like, damn, Hawkman.
Hawkman's not having none of it.
No, Hawkman is not having none of it. So I believe the Justice League in this comprises of Superman, Wonder Woman, Power Girl, Green Lantern, Flash. Later, Robin, Dick Grayson, because
Donna.
I love the scene when Donna sees Wonder Woman again. Like, because I'm assuming Dick convinces her and Roy Harper, aka Red Arrow, in this to join the Justice League, because they were Teen Titans together. And so basically, they go around righting wrongs, one of which is fighting a bunch of basically neo-Nazis who are attacking immigrants that are waiting at the Statue of Liberty to kind of get passage into America. And basically, that was kind of the first fight for the Justice League. After this, Superman goes to Gotham and enters the Batcave, where we see that Wayne Manor is in ruins. They explain that basically Bane and Two-Face wrecked the manor, and of course, this Batman, his back is broken still. Basically, Batman is arguably no longer Batman. It's kind of implied that after Bane broke his back, he got a special armor brace that allows him to walk.
Which is the version of Bruce we see during the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Kind of. I don't think he's nearly as dark as that Bruce.
No.
But basically he built a bunch of robots to basically be Batman for him. And so basically Superman goes to Batman. He's like, I need your help, Bruce. And Bruce is like, I don't call myself that anymore. Although what's funny is basically Batman in this has a really weird sense of humor, Like, he's very much more sarcastic than I think any other Batman. I mean, Grant, I love this Batman because basically he's just like he knows Superman doesn't like to be called Clark anymore, but he keeps calling him Clark. Just be like, no, I don't care what's happened to you. You are Clark Kent. You know, and basically, and also some villain called Genocider destroyed Arkham Asylum and Blackgate and killed like almost all the inmates. I don't know who that is because I tried looking up who that is, but I think basically that it's a character just made up for the story.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, they like this big argument between Superman and Batman. Batman's like, so you're just gonna like arrest people that don't see your way, and basically be, you know, put them into like a gulag or some sort of thing is what you're planning. And Superman's like I wish there was another way, but there's not. And Batman's like, so basically you're like we have to obey you. It's your way, the highway. And basically Batman's like, you know, I like thanks but no thanks, basically, to join the Justice League. He's like, I've got people all over the world helping me. We'll do things our way, you do things your way. And Superman leaves.
I know my business, you know yours. Your business being an asshole.
Yeah, no, basically. And after he leaves, Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Blue Beetle show up. Because basically they're helping Batman create basically an anti-Justice League army. The Outsiders, basically. And so basically, for a good chunk well, actually, while all this is going on, there's an anti-metahuman group that's forming, comprised of Lex Luthor, Catwoman, Riddler, I think King of the Royal Flush Gang?
I think.
Because they just call him King. King Cobra, and the current League of Assassins leader, Ibn al-Zufash. Better known as the Son of the Bat. So, fun fact, this book is actually the first use of Damian before Damian actually was a thing. Because for a lot of people don't know, Grant Morrison didn't create Damian. Damian was actually a character that didn't really have a name. But basically, Batman in the story Son of the Bat, or Son of the Demon, marries Talia al Ghul, and she's pregnant, but then she loses the baby, which later revealed that she had the baby, but then gave them up for adoption. And nobody did anything with it because it was technically an Elseworld story. Well, the first time he showed up was in this, as the leader of the League of Assassins. And granted, I only know he's the Son of the Bat because if you know Arabic, even al-Zufash translates to Son of the Bat. And there's also, basically Lex is planning on creating an army that will allow him to, you know, once the metahuman sides, you know, fight each other, he'll come in and basically clean up. When all this is going on, there's a random, like, younger man that's assisting him, who looks kind of familiar. And so basically, you know, the story kind of, you know, goes on. Superman and the Justice League have a lot of victories. You know, a lot of these heroes, once they see it's Superman, are like, all right,
I'm out.
No, some of them are like, no, Superman's back, I'm in. I don't care what's going on. Superman's awesome. I'm joining the Justice League. Or, I don't want to get my ass beat by Superman. I'll just join you guys. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't beat me up. But then you have other guys who are like, oh, Superman's back? This Boy Scout? Let's kill him.
Now for the democratic response.
Yeah. Well, basically, Superman, you know, tries to be kind of reasonable. He even goes like a superhero bar, I guess. And you see a lot of characters in here, particularly a lot of characters that are arguably like the children of other heroes. You see Nightfire in here. You see the freedom fighter character, the Human Bomb, in there, which was okay. And so basically, you know, Superman comes in this bar, blows up all the booze, and says, you know, I want people to join up with me. You know, I want to try and show people that there's a better way, and we're gonna try and return things to the way they were. And then he leaves, and it's actually interesting because you actually see Dick Grayson's daughter talking. She's like, "Holy crap! I thought he was full of crap, and now seeing him, I get why my dad joined up with him." Basically, because I think Nightfire kind of doesn't agree with the fact that her dad is working with Superman at first. Probably because of her grandpa Bruce, you know, telling her that Superman's full of shit.
Yeah.
No, I love that Nightfire exists. I totally believe that, like, she would see Batman as her grandpa. Because after he leaves, Ollie shows up in his new Green Arrow costume, and as he says, and now for the Democratic response. Which, basically convinces me that Nightfire joins purely because Grandpa Bruce basically is like, no, I want to stop, like, basically all the death and such. And so, basically, like I said, we see, all this, and then everyone's wondering, why hasn't Superman gone after Magog yet? Like, he destroyed Kansas. And here we get into the meat of why Superman left. Basically, Magog wanted to prove that he was the next Superman, the next Man of Tomorrow, which is hilarious because he's technically an old god. And he's like, and basically, he came at around the same time that the Joker committed his last joke. Basically, he went to the Daily Planet, gassed the whole place with his Joker toxin, and killed 90-something people. I think it was 96 men and 1 woman. That woman, of course, being Lois Lane. Because I actually know, because there's actually a side issue where they actually show the Joker's last fight. Basically, everyone dies except Lois, because Lois, knowing the Joker, always has like stuff Superman gave her on hand. She had a gas mask. She tried to fight the Joker, and the Joker basically beat her to death with one of her Pulitzers. And Superman gets there too late, and she dies in his arms. And basically that's kind of more why he stopped being Superman, aside from some other reasons. Which, fun fact, the death of Superman is canon to this book because he has the mullet.
Oh yeah, there we go.
He has the mullet.
In the one scene they show him, he's got it all tied up in a ponytail, which I'm like, interesting look for Superman in this.
Yes, I didn't. I think
unique.
I think the ponytail looks better for him than the mullet.
No, I actually will agree. It looks pretty good. I actually like the way it looks.
Yeah. So basically, Magog was like, I hunted for the Joker just as much as you and Batman did. I was surprised I got to him first, and he murders the Joker, who oddly looks kind of like Jack Nicholson's Joker.
I'm sure that was a
I don't
deliberate idea.
I do not doubt it. Basically, he blasts Joker to death with his big staff that shoots lasers, and Superman arrests him and puts him on trial. But of course, he's being put on trial for killing the Joker. Of course, he's not going to get sent to jail.
Yeah.
And
we have another Elseworlds tale where Joker kills Batgirl and Robin in front of Bruce, and Bruce kills him.
Yeah.
And he gets acquitted for it.
Yeah, because
it's the Joker.
Because who
the hell's gonna be like, no, that was a bad thing. You shouldn't have done that. It's like, it's the Joker.
Like, the only person who's gonna feel that way is Batman. And to be fair, I get Batman's reason for not killing him, because it proves everything wrong about the clown, or everything wrong with society that the clown believes. So basically, Magog wanted to prove that he was better than Superman, and wanted to basically have like a fight on national television to see who was better, and Superman left. Basically, this much like Superman and the Elite, basically Superman sees that the whole world believes Magog should be the next Man of Steel, because he, gets results. So Superman leaves, because not only does the home that he took on as his home no longer believe in his values, but the last strands of humanity he had are gone. So basically, you kind of see why Superman left, and kind of why Superman's kind of doing the wrong things in a lot of places. He's basically given up on the part of his name that makes him so powerful, man. And so Magog, it seems like he's angry, because he even blasts Superman. Superman, of course, is like, what are you going to do to me? I'm Superman. Magog, literally after doing that, falls to his knees. He's like, arrest me. Look at what you let me do. Like, I failed. Like, I've been trying to fix Kansas this whole time. Why did you let me become Superman? I'm not you. I failed. I need you to punish me. Make the ghosts stop. And so Superman's like, all right, we're at war. So he goes to Apocalypse. And at first you think he's talking to Darkseid, but it's actually Orion. For those of you who don't know the New Gods, Orion is the son of Darkseid. given to Allfather. Basically, they exchange their sons. Darkseid would take Mr. Miracle, who was the son of Highfather, and Highfather took Orion, basically as a way to try and keep New Genesis and Apocalypse from fighting. Darkseid, in this universe, eventually killed his father and basically becomes the new Darkseid. Not of choice, because basically he tried to give freedom to the slaves of Apocalypse, but they've been
oppressed for
so long they don't know what to do with freedom. Which, to be fair, I actually feel bad for Orion, because like Superman tries to like be like, I didn't think you'd end up being your father, and Orion's like, I didn't choice. like this is an impossible problem. And so basically, he asks to borrow his jailers, Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, to build him a gulag, which I never noticed until I was rereading it last night for this review. Looks a lot like the Fortress of Doom from...
No, I actually thought that going through. I just didn't... I forgot to mention it to you, but it definitely does.
Yeah, like that is the Fortress of Doom. And so basically...
Again, I'm sure a very strategic design choice by Mr. Alex Ross.
Oh, no, totally. Because he is such a Legion of
Legion of Doom.
Justice Friends guy. And so basically, they build this gulag to try and keep all of the people that don't fall in line with Superman in so that they can get educated. Basically, a big hologram of Superman shows up every day and just constantly reiterates his own, rules. Heroes go a certain way. We don't kill. I don't like you all being in here, but until you get with the program, you have to stay here. Which, basically, he creates the world's biggest powder keg. Like, one false move and everything's gonna just explode. And basically, Lex Luthor even states, this is what I want to do. Because I want to create a war so bad, the UN has no choice but to let me do what I want. And basically, the new Legion of Doom basically is like, well, how do we stop Superman? Why don't we just get some kryptonite out? And actually, we at this point find out Lex and Batman are working together, because Batman's like, what other choice do I have? So you're like, oh, Batman's working with Lex Luthor?
No.
He's not, though.
No.
Basically, I think Riddler actually asks, because Riddler is the only one who asks questions, because of course he does. And so, Riddler's like, why don't we just kill him with kryptonite or something? And basically Lex is like, yeah, no, unfortunately...
You thought I didn't think of that?
Yeah, no, basically Superman has absorbed so much sunlight now, he is immune to kryptonite. He literally is so... He's absorbed so much sunlight, he's now basically invincible. Except for one thing, which we'll get to. And so basically they're all like, well, how do we stop Superman? And Lex is like, you leave that to me. And we cut to him basically torturing his... I guess manservant would be the right...
Butler.
Showing him pictures of these supervillains killing people. And dude's like, that never happened. And Lex is putting worms in his ears. He's like, oh, it could have. But don't worry, Billy. You just listen to me and everything will be okay. It's Captain Marvel.
Otherwise known as Shazam.
Yeah, otherwise known as Shazam. In fact, he even starts freaking out and tries to say Shazam. He's like, oh no, don't. Basically, he's been torturing Billy to keep him safe. Because basically, as Billy grew up, I guess Captain Marvel's incensed by the horrors of everything he's seen, basically retreated away. And so now Billy kind of has this split personality thing where he can't really be in control of one side or the other. It's not really made it super clear what's going on with Billy. Basically that he's...
Well, and you noticed the technology Luthor...
Oh yeah, it's Dr. Sivana. Sivana's tech.
I always, upon first reading this, I thought the worms were also a possible reference to Mr. Mind.
Oh, I don't doubt it. They're probably actually his children. So basically while this is going on, Norman's like...
There's a lot of deep comic book knowledge references in this.
Basically, Norman's talking with Spectre so you're just going to let all this bad stuff happen? The Spectre's like, it's not my job to interfere. My job is the spirit of vengeance. In fact, although there was a couple of times where basically when we see the Injustice League because Oh, the caveman guy who smelled a meteor and got like immortal.
I don't know.
Oh, I can't think of his name. Crap, hold on.
Check the Apocrypha.
No, he's an old Justice Friends villain. I can't think of his name. Crap. I think I even brought it up. You mind telling them about the part with where the Spectre goes to talk to like the alt.
Oh, yeah, of course. So while all this is going on, you have this scene with the Spectre and, you know, the father. He goes basically... It's after he shows them the Golem. He goes to talk with the higher beings.
Oh, and also
basically.
about what happened to Billy, too. Because, like, the wizard Shazam is there trying to get them to help Billy.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part. My bad. Let me just find it, so I'm...
So you were there.
So talking out my ass.
It was the part with Dead Man.
Yeah. So basically, what's going on is you have the wizard. For those who don't know, for those who haven't seen the movie, the wizard Shazam, who gives Billy Batson his powers.
Vandal Savage. That was who I was talking about. I couldn't think of his name for some reason.
You have the wizard pleading with these other higher beings. Like one of them is the Watcher.
No, that's the Guardian Ganthet probably.
Yeah.
AKA the only Guardian that's actually worth a damn.
Yeah, so you have all these higher beings, basically, and you have Shazam pleading with them to help Billy.
Yeah.
You know, talking about how he could love him no more if he were my own son.
Yeah. And so basically they're all like, no, we agreed a long time ago not to interfere. And then the Spectre grows big, too, because he's, you know, the spirit of vengeance. So while Norman basically tries to listen in on this until basically, like, I guess the implication is, like, they're talking with so much power that it's hard for Norman to understand what they're talking about because he's just immoral. He runs into Dead Man, who looks awesome in this, where he's literally, like, just a skeleton in his Dead Man costume. And so basically Dead Man talks to him because, like, Norman's like, are you, like, a spirit? He's like, yeah, but I work for, like, a higher power, so, like, I get to bop around the dimensions all I want.
Name's Boston. I'm a ghost. Nice to meet you.
No, I love Boston in this. He's amazing. Basically, Norman, you know, is like, so, is there, like, you know, I always assume that, like, because he actually kind of my way, that, like, basically he believes that there is a God, but he doesn't like the fact that we name it, because he thinks that, like, it's more just, like, this higher force that, you know, runs everything, and that there's, like, avatars that service him. That services the great power. In fact, even Dead Man himself says, you know, the god I work for, which I think is, like, an Egyptian god. I forget her name, but, actually, I think it's not in this page. Oh, he talks about it at one point. Actually, no, let me go back to this page. Oh, where is it? Oh, yeah, Ramakrishna. Yeah, he works for an Egyptian god called Ramakrishna. Basically Norman's like, is the spirit really an angel? Or Spectre really an angel? And he's like, oh, he's an angel, all right. The angel of death. And basically talks about how the Spectre, you know, at one point was a cop who, when he died, became the spirit of vengeance. You know, basically, because he's basically like the DC's equivalent to Ghost Rider.
But man, does he get a movie starring Nick Cage?
I wish. Actually, he wouldn't be bad as the Spectre, but
I could see him pulling that off.
But basically, you know, he's like, you know, he used to be a human, and basically the Spectre has the same problem as Superman. You know, he's become so enwrapped in his role, he's forgotten that, like, the human side of him is important. And so basically, the Spectre gets done yelling at Highfather and Ganthet and the Wizard Shazam. It's basically like, alright, let's keep watching Armageddon happen. While this is going on, we also see Superman and Wonder Woman. Basically, they're sitting outside of the Watchtower, well, the new Watchtower, and they're, like, flinging rocks against meteors and shit. And so basically, you know, Superman's talking about the good old days, and Wonder Woman is as well. And it's around here, because they had talked to Aquaman, and, you know, basically they wanted to put the Gulag in Atlantis, because they would rather...
Yeah, and he was basically like, yeah, no, that's not
happening. Like, you all act like the 25% of the Earth, that part of the Earth is so important. Meanwhile, I gotta deal with the rest of the 75% of it that none of y'all care about. And so basically he's like, why don't you ask the Amazons and Themyscira? And here we find that Wonder Woman herself has been cast out of paradise, basically. That basically they felt she failed in her, her quest to be an ambassador and to show man's world that, there can be peace. So basically they kicked her out. Which actually kind of implies why Donna is so happy to see Wonder Woman again, because she basically, the Amazons are like, no, you're Wonder Woman now, Donna.
Yeah, because at this point she would have been Wonder Girl.
Yeah, basically she was like, you can't talk to Diana anymore. And then Superman comes back, so Donna's like, nah, nuts to that. I want to be with my sister again. Because I love the scene where it shows her, like, her, Cyborg, and Robin are convinced to join Justice League. And I love it because, like, you can see in the background, Donna is so happy to see her sister again. And so basically, Wonder Woman's like, all right, if I can't bring peace by, being Wonder Woman, then I will bring peace through war. And so, basically, she's kind of the reason why Superman eventually kind of sees her way. And basically, the UN has decided... Or no. At this point, Batman has figured out that the guy that has been kind of unnerving them is Billy. Because basically, he gets the Martian Manhunter, which is the saddest scene with Martian Manhunter. Because basically, Martian Manhunter basically was wanting to be so much a part of the human race. He opened his mind up to the rest of the world, and I think it basically shattered his mind. Like, it's really sad, because basically Batman's like, alright, I need you to look at that man, and can you read his mind for me, John? And John's like, I will too much noise, too much noise! Batman's like, it's alright, it's alright, you did what you needed. And basically Martian Manhunter's like, you don't think I can help you anymore? And Batman's like, no, you've done enough, old friend. Go home and rest and dream about Martian fields and I'm like, oh.
Dreams of red sand and silent stars.
I'm like, that was so, like, that part with Martian Manhunter, like, just, I'm gonna say it right now, that fucks me up. That fucks me up every time I read it. Because I'm like, no! And so basically, Batman realizes that, This has been Luthor's plan the whole time. Basically, the UN is going to shut the Gulag down. Because basically, Superman, goes to them is like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. Like, we've tried to make this work, and it's fallen apart. And basically, while this is going on, a breakout, a riot breaks out. Yeah, a prison riot occurs and I think basically one of Adam Strange's friend, because, like, one of the Wardens is, like, I think, like, Adam Strange, or one of those space heroes like that, gets killed. And so, basically, Wonder Woman's like, we gotta go back to the Watchtower. Get some of our more powerful guys down there to try and hold the riot out. I'm gonna suit up. Basically, she takes off her regular Wonder Woman outfit and puts on that sweet armor she's wearing in the Wonder Woman 84. Actually, yeah, the armor she wears in Wonder Woman 84, that's in this book. That's actually where they get it from. You've seen it, right? Yeah. And it looks awesome,
I'm trying to find it. Give me a second.
Yeah, here it is right here. It looks awesome, right? That's one thing I love. Like, Alex Ross is, like so artsy and stuff, but he still wants to put them all in sweet action figure costumes. Because later on, Batman is in this sweet Batman armor, and he's got, like, lances, like he's a knight. But, so basically, Wonder Woman's like, I'm going down there, and I'm gonna kill anyone that doesn't agree to us. And Superman's like, no, don't. Ouch. What's with this sword? And here you see that Superman is still weak because he nicks himself on Wonder Woman's magic sword. And so basically, they're all arguing about what they should do. And all of a sudden, the Flash is looking at something. And Norman even states, yeah, that's my bad. I forgot that the Flash is, like, part of the Speed Force now, so he's vibrating so hard he can see into other dimensions. So he sees this random old dude just chilling and no one else can see him, so Flash is like, hang on, and pulls him out of, like, the bubble that the Spectre has them hidden in. And Norman's basically like, sup?
Yeah, and Power Girl just instantly just grabs him and is like, where did you come from? Who are you?
Yeah.
Answer me, damn it.
And Superman's like, Kara, I got this. And so basically Norman tries to warn them that, like, you're at a crossroads. Like the end of days is coming, and you've got to do something to stop it. And so Superman kind of just stands there like, I don't really think I should do anything. Because basically everything he's tried to do is not working. He even goes to Batman and is like, Batman, you've got to help me. We've got to stop it. Innocent lives are going to get killed. And Bruce is basically like, nah,
Also, this is the third '60s Batman TV show I've referenced. I noticed in here when I was reading it, but
Oh yeah, with Robin.
with Tim being like, "Holy
God!"
God.
No, that's Dick.
I mean, yeah, my bad. I keep getting names mixed up. I don't know why.
Well, to be fair, like Tim wore it longer than
That's probably
Dick
why
did,
it's
so
throwing me
like
off.
that's fair. And so basically, you know, Wonder Woman kisses Superman and more or less, you know, says goodbye. Which I will admit, this is probably one of the few stories where I actually like that Superman and Wonder Woman have a romance. It makes a lot of sense to me because basically
It doesn't feel forced.
Well, it doesn't feel forced, and like basically Diana just wants to be with someone that reminds her of when she was better. You know? And, you know, that was Superman. And I also admit, Wonder Woman is really well drawn in this. She looks almost like...
She's beautiful in this.
Well, not only that, like, she looks a lot like, she almost looks a lot like a younger version of, Linda Carter.
So again, I'm almost positive that was a very strategic decision.
Yeah, and so basically...
Deliberate.
Oh, I bet you don't know, that's actually the son of Zatanna.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's Zatanna's son. That's why he hangs out with Batman, because her and Batman are friends. So, actually, it's really funny. Pretty much every member of Batman's task force
Well, and I also
is
noticed,
more or less like children of people who respected Batman.
I don't know if you noticed this or brought this up, but in this sequence right here, where Wonder Woman's getting ready to go after she gets the armor on, there's two characters here I noticed. I don't know if you mentioned or not. Right here, this guy is Bullet Man.
Oh yeah.
From the same All-Star comics that I believe the original Green Lantern was from.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
And that's Mary Marvel.
Oh, it is Mary, isn't it? Huh.
Never mentioned in the story at all, but I noticed it because of the design.
Probably because
the white and gold design.
Probably because, you know, reminds her of her brother.
Yeah.
So basically, Lex is like, all right, here's our plan. We're gonna let them fight, and when everything's done, we go in and kill them all. And so Batman's like,
rip and tear.
No, Batman's like, nah. And he punches Billy in the face because he knows he's Billy. Because basically, when the Martian Manhunter went to his brain, he could see that there's too many voices in his head. Basically, that Billy and Shazam are, like, at odds with each other. And I actually really love that sequence because basically, Batman has everyone else stop the rest of the Legion of Doom. And he chases Billy, and he's like, Billy, listen, it's me. It's Batman. I know you've been fighting it this whole time, but I can help you, Billy. I need your help right now, and I can help you. It's like it actually I really love because basically it's Batman talking to a little kid, and I really love it because Batman is so desperately trying to like save Billy from himself, and it kind of seems like he almost gets through until Billy trips and ends up covered in all the mind worms, and so he freaks out and shouts Shazam, and he leaves, basically to do what Luthor wanted. So basically, he shows up, and as Wonder Woman and her team are about ready to go in and stop the riot, a bolt of lightning hits the hits the gulag, opening it up to let everything out. And as Norman McKay starts, Armageddon begins with a bolt of lightning. Look at that image. Look at this image right here.
This is just the art. I can't stress this enough, and I'm sure you can't stress it enough.
Yeah, no.
Alex Ross his artwork in this is just absolutely stunningly beautiful.
Like
it's like honestly, it's probably one of the most beautiful looking comic books I've ever seen, if not the most beautiful.
Also, fun fact: this is actually the fight between Captain Marvel and Batman or Superman was from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. Gets a lot of its
inspiration.
Yeah, and so we come to the final chapter.
Even again, like that. Like look how stunning that artwork is.
We come to the final part of this tale, basically Armageddon.
There were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. This was my dream. No more.
And basically, like, it's just a big drawn out knuckle duster fight.
This, like if DC were to make a live action movie, this would probably be the most expensive movie scene ever made.
Yeah, no.
Honestly.
Like Norman's like basically he's watching people die and like, you know, basically like a war that will destroy the whole planet. He's like, make it stop. Like you're the Spectre. You are the angel, make it stop.
I cannot. I can take no action. Not yet.
And then there
will be reckoning, Norman McKay.
Oh yeah.
Be prepared. As the scriptures say, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come.
So basically the UN has decided, alright, we tried waiting for them to do something. We're going to drop these super nukes on everybody. And fun fact, you can actually see a Blackhawks. Basically, the Blackhawks are going to So they've got these super nuclear missiles that are like immune to like basically any sort of superpower. In fact, to be fair, the UN guys
It's the fucking Minotaur again.
yeah, basically the UN guys like, look, if I didn't think we had any sort of choice or time, but if we don't stop them while they're still in one place, we're all gonna die.
Here's Batman.
And then basically Superman's team is starting to lose, and then Batman and his super team show up. Fun fact: that's the daughter of Dinah and Ollie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's because she uses a bow and arrow. I think there's also the daughter of Jesse
Creeper.
Quick. Oh yeah, there's the Creeper. Oh, there's Blue Beetle in his sweet knight armor.
That's Green Lantern's daughter.
Which makes me think that that's Alan Grant as Green Lantern, because that's technically Jade.
I think it is Alan Grant. I think that's who it's supposed to be.
Here's Wildcat's son, who's actually
again, like this and all this. So much of this is honestly like a comic book nerd's wet dream.
Yeah,
because there's so much
to
references.
Yeah,
there's just so much stuff in the background that it's like.
Also, fun fact:
you spend most of the time looking at the back, like, oh, what's that? What else is in here?
Fun fact: I actually think Wildcat's son here actually is basically he was created here and then brought into the actual DC. And so basically, Batman and his team, is fighting, and so and Bruce decides to confront Diana after she kills one of the supervillains, and drags her up into the atmosphere. And basically, Batman's like, "What do you think? Doing all this is gonna get you back into Paradise Island?"
Let's just read some of this dialogue here.
Oh yeah.
Diana says, "And we will finish it without you, Bruce. Your people are out of their league." To which Bruce responds, "Why? Because we're here to save lives rather than take them? For peace, the Amazon tenet. Spread love and understanding, but don't be afraid to bloody your knuckles doing it. Don't tell me you still subscribe to that paradox. I've heard rumors that the Amazons relieved you of your duties and heritage for not being stridden enough. Face the truth, Diana. You won't win back your royal station by overcompensating."
And then she's like, "You aristocratic bastard.
You dare condemn me?"
And so basically, Superman and her end up fighting up in the air because both of them have, flying capabilities. And Batman stops because he sees it. Basically, these stealth bombers, which kind of look like the snow speeders from Empire Strikes Back.
I can kind of see the resemblance there.
Basically, Wonder Woman and Batman realize that they're on a timeline or time limit, and meanwhile, poor Superman's trying to get Billy to stop. He's like, you were my friend. Like, you gotta stop. You gotta fight it, Billy. And Billy basically just starts bringing down the lightning and just keeps hitting Superman over and over and over with his lightning. You get the part where he holds Superman over his head and just Shazam, Shazam, and he's just hitting him with lightning.
Stop! He's already dead. Jesus Christ!
But basically, Superman during this whole fight finally sees the missiles. Because Batman and Wonder Woman managed to stop two of them. Because basically Batman's like, all right, you have two choices here. You can help me stop them, or you can go down, or you can let people die because that's what you want, right? And so basically Wonder Woman finally snaps out of it. And Billy calls the thunder at just the right moment for Superman to cover his mouth, and the lightning knocks him out. And so basically Superman's like, all right, Billy, I could go up there and I could stop the bomb, but I don't think I should.
So listen to me, Billy. Listen harder than you have ever before. Look around you. Look at what we've come to. There's the other bomb falling. Either it kills us, or we run rampant across the globe. I can still stop the bomb, Bill. That much I'm sure of it. What I don't know is whether I should be allowed to. And that decision, I'm not a man. But you, Billy, you're both. More than anyone who ever existed, you know what it's like to live in both worlds. Only you can weigh their worth equally. Fight the brainwashing, Billy. You can let me go. Or with a word, you can stop me. Do you understand that choice that can be made by you alone? Then decide. Decide the world.
And and Billy watches, and with one whisper, Shazam. So basically, Superman's about to stop the bomb, and then Billy grabs him and throws him back. And he tries to stop the bomb, but because it's the way it is, Billy has only one choice. And he utters his final Shazam and blows the bomb up in the atmosphere. Okay, if I may. So basically, the bomb explodes anyways, and even at the atmosphere, it's still enough to pretty much kill most everyone there that isn't able to protect themselves.
It It's the blowdown effect.
And so Norman, who, has been watching this, finally sees through the dust. And Spectre comes up to him and goes, "Judgment." And we see what Superman has lost.
Like, the artwork is just...
Yeah.
It's horrific. It's haunting.
And basically Superman, like, you don't hear... there's no onomatopoeias, but you can tell that he's screaming in agony. And then
he gets up and the eyes
are glowing red. And he leaves, but before he leaves, after he leaves, we see that Green Lantern and a few others have managed to create a barrier to protect...
Which I think Kara is one of them.
Oh, yeah,
they never specifically mention who still is still alive.
Basically, they say enough that this could happen again, basically. And so basically Norman's like, "You need to get me to the UN. I know where he's going. Because I'm not gonna like watch..." Oh yeah, basically he's like, "You think you brought me here to watch all these people die? Think again. You want to confront evil? Then get us the hell to the UN now. You saw Superman. You saw an anger that could twist steel. And when next happens the only way it can, and you let it, that is evil." And so basically Norman at this point is like, "No.
He's gonna murder the fucking UN."
Yeah, no. So basically Superman welds the door shut and is basically gonna... Well, because... Basically, he's not gonna just bring it down on the UN. Basically, Superman is weak enough that more than likely he'll kill himself too. So basically, Norman, comes down and basically has, he's like, "Don't do this, Clark." Actually, if I may, like, in my opinion, to everyone who thinks that Man of Steel is a good movie, allow me to quote Norman McKay to basically tell you
why you're wrong.
Yeah. Don't, Clark, don't. You blame yourself for Captain Marvel, for Magog and Kansas, for 10 years that ended today. Yes, you're angry, but in that anger, you're forgetting once more what humans feel. What they fear. They won't forgive you for this, Clark. Forgive yourself. And so Superman stops, basically, and he basically is like, "Who are you and why are you here?" "To bear witness. Listen to me, Clark. Of all the things you can do, all your powers, the greatest has always been your instinctive knowledge of right and wrong. It was a gift of your own humanity. You never had to question your choices in any situation, any crisis. You knew what to do. But the minute you made the super more important than the man, the day you decided to turn your back on mankind, that completely cost you your instinct. That took your judgment away. Take it back. If you want redemption, Clark, it lies in the very next decision you make. Make it as a man, and make it right." Honestly, that monologue is one of the reasons why this book is so powerful to me.
If like I said, if DC and Warner Bros. Were to make this into a movie, and I really hope they do, whether it be animated or live action, that would be probably one of the most pivotal scenes.
Yeah. That
if they were to nail it correctly, I guarantee you the entire theater would be awestruck by it.
And it really explains so well the problem I have with a lot of modern Superman stuff. It's so focused on the fact that Super is in front of the man. That, like, the thing that makes Superman so great is because he's not a god. He's a man with extraordinary gifts that uses them to try and do the right thing. Not rule over us, not fly above us, but walk alongside us. And so basically, to move this along, because we've been talking for a while, but basically, Batman and Wonder Woman show up and basically say, we have survivors, enough that this could happen again. And Superman's like, "I see now what I've done wrong. I thought that I needed to rule over you." And even the UN is like, we were just so afraid of you. Batman basically is like, "I don't care about the snakes that were made today or yesterday. What I care about is tomorrow." And so, I want to say it's Donna basically gives him the only remaining part of Captain Marvel left, his cape. And basically...
No, it's Green Lantern.
Oh, it's Green Lantern. Oh, yeah, good. Basically...
And he ties it to the flagpole at the UN.
Basically, Batman and Wonder Woman take off they're... Basically, Batman unmasks himself. Wonder Woman takes off her thing. He's like, "Our problem was we decided to walk above you instead of alongside you. We're not doing that anymore." And basically, all the heroes unmask or take off like something in memorial for Billy. to remind themselves that they are still human. And so we cut ahead, and basically Wayne Manor has been rebuilt. It is now, and basically this is where we get into the whole, we become our father's things. Batman has turned Wayne Manor into a hospital. Batman, of course, his father was a doctor. And of course we see that he's making Luthor and all the other villains work in there. And which is hilarious because Batman goes up to Luthor and goes, Shazam. No, I love this book because basically the whole book is just Batman screwing with Luthor. And of course we get a scene where like he talks with Ibn al-Zufash, he's like, I want to... And then of course we get this amazing image of Batman and Nightfire looking over Dick. Because basically Dick got really badly hurt during the fight. And basically Dick and Batman, patch things up. We also see Paradise Island where Wonder Woman is being once again, reinstated as Wonder Woman. And we also see that Green Lantern is now a member of the UN for New Oa. I'm like, how does that work? And of course, then we cut to see Superman taking up once again his father's legacy of being a farmer. After he basically created a memorial for all those who died in Kansas. And Wonder Woman's like, quite a memorial, and Superman's basically like, I'm working the soil now. I'm going to basically he's going to repair Kansas by farming it. And so Wonder Woman's like, I have to go and I'm going to help, be an ambassador again. And she gives him a gift that's basically something to help him see a little bit clearer. And he opens the box, and it's his old glasses. And he puts the glasses on and kisses Diana. And basically, he goes back to doing what he's doing. And so, Norman, we basically get this scene where Norman's like, who is responsible for what has happened? And basically the Spectre's like, no one needs to be punished. I realize now it wasn't someone who caused this. It was simply mistakes. And more or less, basically here, I'm merely wondering, because basically Norman goes to him, he's like, when you first appeared before me, you said you need a human soul to be your anchor, and yet you yourself were once an ordinary man. Tell me, what would his perspective be then? So basically, because the Spectre has been wearing his hood over his face the whole time, and so he finally takes the hood off and reveals, his real identity. He's like, an excellent question. Be well, Norman McKay. You have watched the Titans walk the earth, and you have kept stride. Perhaps you are more like them than you realize. You exist to give hope. And so basically, more or less, Norman, goes back to his pulpit and he preaches hope. And at the front of the pulpit, you actually see the Spectre's human form sitting there listening. Basically that he realizes, we still have a long road to go, but there is hope now, and we need that more than ever. Cut to 1 year later, where Bruce, Diana, and Clark go to planet Krypton, discuss...
Two things I noticed. There's 60s Batgirl.
Oh yeah, there's 60s Batgirl. What book is she reading?
Young Love, which is, I believe, a pulp.
Yeah.
Or, like, one of the very early comics. And then there's the Bat ship from the Batman of the year. I can't remember what year it is. It's the one where it's in the future.
Yeah, the year 1000, I think.
Yeah, year 1000.
And so basically, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman sit down and talk about, like, what, basically, like, how things have been, in the year that they've been recovering. Which is also hilarious because they're sat next to, like a
kryptonite display.
And Superman keeps looking at it like, that's not real, is it? It's not, obviously, but... you can also see the time-traveling treadmill from... or the cosmic treadmill that Flash uses. But basically, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are like, we're talking about things to come, and Wonder Woman and Superman have a surprise for Batman, and Batman just goes...
60s Bat Chopper from the movie.
Oh, I love this part, too. Are you ready? Oh, yeah, hi, I'm Robin, and Batman's like...
Of course you are.
I love it because Batman gets coffee. I actually love that. Batman gets coffee, Diana gets water, which is inherent to, like, their big surprise, and Superman, the Man of Steel, orders the only drink that he knows. Milk.
Keep it coming.
I love it because Batman orders a steak and he wants it like he wants a steak.
Not a shade over medium.
And then yeah, and so Superman's like, I got it, and he literally heat visions the steak to Batman's perfect temperature. Because of course Superman would do that. And so basically, you know, they want to reveal this big surprise, and Batman's like, yeah, Wonder Woman's pregnant. And Diana's like, how did you know? Well, first of all,
World's greatest detective.
yeah. And second of all, like, they're a pretty good hit. I think it also kind of implies that Diana is giving up her immortality. Because, like, he said that there were other hints, and they cut her hair, I think to imply that she's aging. But basically, Wonder Woman's like, you know, in light of everything, we want you to help us raise the child, Batman. And Batman's like,
What?
you're giving me access to this immortal child, and you want me to teach them? And basically, Superman and Wonder Woman are like, well, we don't think they should only be in seclusion, and you know, and you're the most human of us, so we want them to know that future. And so,
First appearance of Shazam.
And so the book ends with the three of them going out talking of the future.
The child of Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman. Imagine what kind of kid she'll be. Battler for truth, justice, and a new American way. I can hardly wait to see it for myself. Let's go home and dream about the future.
And at this point, the book should show them basically going into the future, showing the Legion of Superheroes, and basically the Legion, you know, basically that the future is now to the superheroes, you know, and the Legion's world is, you know, it has its problems. It's kind of a paradise if you think about it, because there's superheroes all over the place. And as we see the Legion fly off to do new battles, we see a gentle old man in a red cloak with little glasses smiling, implying that that's Superman, who is now, you know, thousands of years old. And that's how the book ends. There is a little difference. Basically, the scene with Norman releading his church, you also saw Clark in that, you know, watching as well, because basically Clark has found Norman, basically. So yeah, that's Kingdom Come. So, you know, I've let this talk a lot just because I wanted to talk about the book. But what were your thoughts?
Your favorite story?
It is my favorite story.
So again, going into this, I'd heard a lot about it. I'd seen a lot about it. I'd seen a lot of the art, you know, and I'd always liked it. I like Ross's style. I feel he has a very unique style.
Yeah.
It's a very realistic style compared to some of the comic book art that you and I have seen over the years, and not only in just in comic books, but in animated stuff, etc. I think his style really lends to just kind of the heavy weight of the story.
Yeah.
Like, it really accompanies it very well. It augments some of the darker aspects of the story, in that, like, this isn't a story where we're just battling for, you know, like, we're going to stop the end of the world. This is really a story of we're battling good and evil.
And not only that, we're battling the times.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this is basically an answer to the dark age of comic books, you know, like, and it really shows that, like, you know, for all the supposed good that the 90s anti-heroes brought, you know, they still brought the world so much closer to Armageddon. You know, they basically made it 2 minutes to midnight, if you will. And I basically kind of saying, you know, we still need heroes like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. You know, these heroes that are better than us because we want to be like that. You know, that a world without Superman is a world without dreams and hope and strivings to be better. I also think this is really good at showing that, like, you know, even though Superman and Batman can be at odds with each other, they're still friends. Like every time Superman goes to Batman, it's not because he's like, you know, you need to do what I say, or like, you know, like Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, where like Batman's like, oh, you're just a jackbooted thug for the government. It's two men whose beliefs in crime fighting are different, but at the end of the day, they still believe in the same things. They just disagree on how it should be done. And it's one of the reasons why I like this book so much, because it gets these characters. Like, I love Mark Waid, and I honestly recommend it. If you like, Mark Waid is such a great writer in this, because he doesn't make anyone look bad. Well, except for Luthor, but I mean...
And not only that, I feel like he had the same love for these characters that Alex did, because you can tell that this whole embodiment, this is a work of love.
Yeah, and it's such
not only the genre, but the characters.
Yeah.
And the world that they inhabit.
Like, it really feels like a lived-in world when you read it. You know, you see Atlantis and these big bubble dome cities, and you see you see Keystone City, Flash's city, and you see the lines running around it. It's because he knows this city, and you see Gotham, and it's dark and shadowy every single time we go to it, and you see like the cave, and like it just.
It's a world you're familiar with, but this is the world as it is at this point in time. It's the world. It's the world you know, but the world you haven't seen.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about about it being like the Dark Age versus the Silver Age sort of thing?
As someone who greatly prefers Golden Age and Silver Age stuff to honestly a lot of the more modern day stuff, as you know from looking at my shelf and my other shelf, I definitely prefer a lot of the older comics over the more modern ones. Just a matter of preference. It's really that, to me, the Golden Age and the Silver Age material, it has so much promise to it, and looking towards what JFK would have called the new frontier.
Yeah,
which DC also did a work on. We might have to review that at some point if I can.
I need to find it because
it's expensive.
It's expensive and it's really big.
Yeah, so if I find it, I might have to loan it to you. But
either that, or we can just watch the movie.
Yeah, but going back to it, it just has so much more of a promise and a more optimistic outlook towards the future. Like we're going to build towards a better future.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the more, not really stuff right now, but 90s especially, 90s, late 80s, there was this shift towards the Dark Age where things were grittier, things were more violent, things were more good does not always triumph, and even if good does triumph, sometimes evil can't be stopped, like stuff like that. It's a more downtrodden and more pessimistic look at things, whereas stuff like this really, in the time period this came out, this would have been in essence a shining light against a lot of the more darker
because material. I always argue this is the beginning of the neoclassical era for comic books. You know, like this is where heroes are allowed to be heroes again, where sometimes heroes did actually win. You know, and I always argue that this story is kind of trying to say, like, yes, things are not perfect. Things can be bleak and things can be tragic, but we can't forget, like, that there always is, like, at least some beacon of good. You know, and I think that was something that the Dark Age kind of missed. You know, because for all the talks of how mature and serious they were, you still had dudes with stupidly big guns and pouches all over themselves, and, might makes right, and it doesn't matter how many good people die when me killing the villain. I still got results. Like, but like at the same time, like, and I think part of it's just because I've gotten tired of like stuff like the Authority or like the idea that superheroes need to be proactive. What does that mean?
One thing I like about this in particular is that there's not a large contrast between Batman and Superman in this. Anymore, you will always see this. I feel like it's become a very centric image with how the media and how a lot of people view both characters, in that Superman is the epitome of the Golden Age. You know, the optimistic, truth, justice, the American way. And Batman is like the darker edge. And I feel like people automatically jump to Batman is the symbol of the Dark Age, whereas Superman is the product of the Golden Age. And it's like they're not. People seem to forget they come from the same period.
Not only that, but like
I would actually argue if you want a darker age thing, any of the X-Men titles from the 90s are more towards that than how Batman is.
Or how Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like Deadpool is a product of the 90s. And hell, even Deadpool is brighter and happier than a lot of those darker characters. And it is something I always feel so frustrated with Batman because, for how dark and brooding he is, he's still the Dark Knight. He's still a hero. Like, I think we've gotten to the point where Batman's more of an anti-hero than he's supposed to be. Like, the Batman I like is not an anti-hero. Batman is a hero. Yes, he has dark methods, and he can be brutal with... But, like, at the same time, this is still the same man who rescued a cat from a bunch of SWAT guys and punched the dude out who tried to shoot the cat. The man who takes care of children because they have lost their parents or have suffered like he has because he doesn't want them to be like him. To quote Young Justice when they're like, so you did this so that you could make Robin more like you? And Batman's like, no. So he wouldn't. Of course I don't want people to be like me. Look at me. I'm a brooding asshole that has lack of trust. But Dick Grayson is not that. Dick Grayson is the greatest thing I've ever accomplished. He's me, but better. Like, in my opinion, that's how I see Dick and like Dick's relation or Bruce's relationship with Dick. He's so proud of him because he's his own man, and he doesn't take after him in the way that, like, you know, it would be disastrous and destructive.
He takes Bruce's ideals and he betters himself for him.
Like, for all the things that Bruce spouts and sometimes he can't match, Dick can. That's one of the reasons why I like Dick so much, and one of the reasons why, well, I do agree he if any of the Robins is worthy to be Batman, it's him. At the same time, I kind of don't want him to be.
Because Dick is his own man.
Yeah, I like that's one of the reasons why I like Nightwing so much, because he wants to be his own man. Heck, he's the Robin that joined with Superman in this, because even he's like, nah, Superman's where it's at. But
one thing that I wish we'd seen, one character I wish we'd seen more, and you know who I'm gonna say, I wish we'd seen more Power Girl in this.
Yeah, I do wish
only because Alex Ross draws her so beautifully in this.
Yeah.
Like, you see her in just bits and pieces, and I would have loved to have, like, seen her kind of come to the forefront, but I understand why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
The main brunt of the story is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah. The Trinity, basically.
Yeah.
Although I do love how he draws her so femininely, and then he gives her those big, muscly arms. Like as if, like, she's feminine, but at the same time...
Kara's jacked.
Yeah,
Kara been getting the gains.
Yeah, Kara never skipped leg day once.
So, I think...
I also would have liked to seen Barbara.
I would have too.
Yeah.
I know why they probably just had so many characters they were already dealing with.
Well, then, you know, she's technically Oracle probably in this because it's, well, taking place after the Dark Age.
So I think we've talked a lot about this. I think we gave a pretty good in-depth review. Any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
You know, if you ever feel like, you know, you wish Rebirth was something more than it was, pick this book up. Like I said, it's one of my favorite stories for a reason, in that it shows that, like, what makes the DC universe so great. And what makes it different from Marvel, too, in my opinion. Because I don't think you could do a book like this in Marvel.
No, I mean, Marvel's, or maybe Earth X would be the closest thing.
But even,
Earth X also done by Alex Ross.
Oh, which I need to pick up. I don't actually own Earth X, but, like, because, like, nothing against Marvel, because they're two different beasts, which is why I like them so much. But
one does some things better than the other, and vice versa.
In my opinion, that a DC universe without hope is not good. And you look no further than New 52, or like DC currently, thanks to Dan DiDio. But I think what makes, if you ever wonder why someone could like Superman so much, or any of these characters, you look no further than Kingdom Come. Because it's a story of a world in desperate need of hope, and about how even ordinary men can shape that hope. Because, you know, for as much as we talk about how, like, it is actually more Norman's story than anyone else's. But, like, no, it's Norman's story in that, it's actually funny, it's kind of like Marvel's in that regard, too, because Marvel's is also about a normal man as he witnesses all this stuff going on around him, but I think that works really well for the story. Is that, you know, we can't ever not have hope. Because without it, the world just seems a little bit darker. So I honestly, I think that basically wraps it up for me.
I mean, that basically, I don't think I could top that. It was very eloquently put. All I can really say is that as someone who put off reading this for as long as I did, I would certainly recommend it. Give it a read. You've seen how many
I know.
I would certainly recommend giving this a read. It's a very enjoyable one. I sat down and read it start to finish in probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because I was just so captured by it.
Like I said, that was basically me when I first got it. I couldn't put it down. Which sucked because I was in college when I read this book, and I was like, oh my god, this book is so good. I don't really feel like we need to put a link in the description to find, because you can find this anywhere. Like, it gets reprinted a lot. I think it's actually
it just has a new printing, actually, a new edition.
I'd also recommend trying to find the novelization for this, because there is a novelization.
Also on Amazon.
but I think it actually is written by Mark Waid too. I want to say it is written by him.
It probably is. It's kind of. I believe the No Man's Land novelization is also done by one of the writers from No Man's Land.
Yeah. One of these days we'll have to do No Man's Land, but that requires me finding every one of my volumes of
And
No
also
Man's Land.
requires me to read through all of them.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this one. I hope you enjoyed. I know it went a little long, but this is one of my favorite books, so it's hard not to. So, as always, look to the skies, enjoy Kingdom Come, and as always, we ask you,
Remember the hyphen and take care.
Take care.